You know, these days we don't see a lot of like brand new motorcycles, ones that you haven't seen on the market before. This is the Moto Morini Xcape 1200. And while it looks like an adventure bike, and that's what all of the marketing material says, this thing has a dark secret and it's not really being honest with itself. So let's hit the road and talk about it. So when I say that this thing isn't being perfectly honest with itself, that statement requires a little bit of unpacking. So we're gonna start out by hitting the Twisties. And the first thing I want you guys to notice is how freaking wide these handlebars are. Like, they're huge. I think those are like, I'd say that's 2.5, maybe almost 3 feet in width. It's insane how wide these handlebars are, which I actually really like. I really like how wide these handlebars are because it makes it so that this bike dips into corners a lot easier than you might expect from a bike with a 19-inch front end. It's wild how good this thing feels. For being as tall as it is, going through the corners, it's fun, it's fast. I'm really impressed with it. It's gonna be hard for me to avoid making this comparison throughout the video, so let's just own it. The Moto Morini 650, the Xcape 650, the little one, it was a perfectly competent motorcycle, but I ceased to enjoy it because I just don't like the motor, right? I've never gelled with that Kawasaki 650. They punched it out to a 750. It's still kind of boring. If it's your thing, sure, man, more power to you. I'm actually kind of happy because that bike is so much fun for what it is. I don't like the motor. But now we've got a motor that I really dig. This V-twin is nice and punchy. It sounds great. It's got great torque. It's got a nice top end too. Let me get into a nice little straighter section. Yeah, here we go. It sounds good. It's fun to rev out. I do think the throttle throw could be a little bit shorter, but when you ride this thing spirited, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. I was kind of expecting it to sort of fall apart a little bit at some point, but nah. It feels really nice. I do want to say, I don't think the motor's all that fast. I also don't think it's all that quick. And I differentiate between quick and fast, right? Fast is a motor that, 160 miles an hour, 180, 200 miles an hour, fast. Quick is really rapid acceleration. We don't really get either out of that. I wouldn't call this motor lazy. It's not aggressive. That's what I'll say. It's sporty, but it's not aggressive. It's kind of like a classic older style V-twin, one that's, just a really good street motor. I will also note that the quick shifter feels okay. It feels fine. I'm not really going to comment on it too much because the bike only has 25 miles on it right now. It's brand new. So as it breaks in, I would expect that to change. But I am genuinely, guys, I am having a really fun time riding this through the Twisties. This feels awesome. And it's made better by the technology that's on board, but it's also held back by some weird stuff on here. So let's pull it over, let's go over the specs, let's go over what I like and what I don't like about it, and then we'll hit the highway. So let's start out with some specs on this bad boy right here. This thing has an 1187cc V-twin putting down 129 horsepower and 78 foot-pounds of torque. They claim this thing weighs 523 pounds dry. It has a 6.5 gallon fuel tank though. So I'm just gonna back of the napkin math and say that this thing ready to rock and roll is probably a little bit closer to 560, 570 pounds. And that kind of tracks with what I was experiencing in the Twisties. Like I said while I was out there, it doesn't feel fast nor quick. It kind of feels to me a little bit like this bike actually is detuned from what the motor is actually capable of. It feels like with a tune on this, you could get closer to like 140 horsepower, and then it would feel a little bit peppier. Another reason why I think that is this exhaust on here. There is a 0% chance that this exhaust has not been cored. I gotta believe that there's some packing that has been blown out or not included in this, because this is a demo bike. So there's no way it sounds like this. Let me show you. All right, this is what it sounds like stock. Stock. Sure, Moto Morini, whatever you say. But here's where we get to one of the things where I think the bike isn't being totally honest with itself, because it's dressed up like an adventure bike, right? We've got the 19-inch front end, we've got tubeless spoked rims. All of this stuff is really nice to see on one of these big heavyweight adventure bikes. But what we also have is a really sophisticated tech suite on here. First and foremost, I want you to take a look at this little black box right here. This is a rear radar sensor, because if we go over to the mirrors, you can probably just make out right there, that's a blind spot monitor. This thing has built-in blind spot monitoring. It's got a front-facing dash cam. It's got cruise control, all of these modes, a heated seat, heated grips, all for 13,000 bucks. Which is a screaming deal. If you're hearing me break down all of this technology that's baked into the Moto Morini, and you're sitting there thinking to yourself, hey, that sounds kind of neat, sort of wish my bike had that, it's actually a lot easier to add it to a motorcycle than you might think. Chigee makes the easiest way to add blind spot monitoring, dash cams, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, and all sorts of other stuff directly to a motorcycle with one simple unit. But for me, the real big win is actually the Android Auto, because it's a lot easier to control your phone through this than it is to have it on the dashboard and try to use the actual full apps. It's much simpler on here. And this thing is completely universal, so you can install it on any vehicle, not just a motorcycle. You can install it on your car, an electric dirt bike, or a particularly advanced pogo stick if you've got one. If you're interested in checking this thing out, click the link down in the description below, where you can use the code SPITESCORNER to get 10% off your order. What happens when you set this bike down on a trail and break this mirror? Because this mirror is wired up. What's it gonna cost to fix that if you smash it off-road? Also, you notice how there's no bark busters on here? Like none, not even hand guards? Instead, what we're looking at is a big, beefy Brembo master cylinder. This isn't what you normally expect on an adventure bike. It is, however, what you expect on an extremely competent sport touring motorcycle. So let's get this thing out on the highway and see how it tours. Pulling on the highway is actually a really good opportunity for me to walk you through some of the technology that's on here, because there's a shitload of it. There's so much here. So you're probably going to notice, if you're paying attention, I'm gonna actually put myself in the middle lane here so that people are going around me in both directions. And if you watch the mirrors, you should see a little light pop up. It's actually really cool. Yeah, see right there. That one's a bit of a false positive, because I'm just based on where I'm sitting in the lane, that car behind me. But now I've got a car over my left shoulder and it's all lit up. We also have cruise control. Cruise control is good between 50 and 150 kilometers an hour. At first I thought it was 50 and 150 miles an hour, and I was like, goddamn, Moto Morini, did your cheese slide off your cracker? That is really fast. That is like Super Duke level stuff. Because I can set this the cruise control on my Super Duke at like 150 miles an hour, which is crazy. We also have the heated seat and the heated grips, which both of those should be on. Yep, I got the ass warmer and the hand warmers going. Something that is a bit of a black mark, though, is I don't like this adjustability thing where you gotta pull forward and then pull it back. Like, this isn't great. It basically makes it binary, either down low or all the way up, even though it's dialable. So I just kind of set it in the highest position and then just leave it there. While we're talking about stuff that's just a little meh, I wish that the cruise control had the roll forward to kill option. There's no push forward to turn off, which means it's brake, it's clutch, or it's switch it off. Not a fan of that. I would like to see the roll forward to kill. That's kind of a standard thing. So deviating from that, I don't like that. But comfort-wise, I don't get any heat from the motor out of this. It's really comfortable to sit on. The seat is good and wide. It's tall, but it's wide. So I've got plenty of room. There's a nice cushion in the foot pegs. The handlebars are in a good spot for me. I feel like if you might be a little bit smaller, this bike might feel huge, but for me, it's great. I love it. I might lower the foot pegs just like a half an inch. That would probably be good on like a really long haul. I could see the position of the pegs just not being totally comfortable. And honestly, I don't think lowering the pegs would make that much of a difference on this motorcycle, which gives me a good opportunity to switch gears here. Now, you may have noticed that I didn't take this adventure bike off-road, and so we arrive at the thesis of my video. I don't really think that this is an adventure bike. This is where I don't think it's being honest with itself. I feel like this motorcycle right here, the bike that I'm riding, is a extremely competent sport touring motorcycle dressed up like an adventure bike. I feel like that category tends to, I don't know, it just tends to be pretty lucrative, certainly right now, especially when you get into like the heavier weight adventure bikes. You can make a good bit of cash if you make a competent adventure bike and then sell it to sport touring dudes. But the thing is, I feel like this bike is so much more competent than the wheels allow it to be, if that makes sense. Like if they put 17s on here, front and back, with a 180 in the rear, then this thing kinda competes a little bit more directly with something like the Tracer 900, or maybe like even an 890 SMT. It's a little bit wider, it's a little bit heavier, but I feel like in that sport touring category, it would live a little bit happier. It would feel a little bit more at home, because I can only imagine what dropping this thing off-road could start costing. I know how expensive these Brembo levers are on here. These are not cheap to replace. Like this thing's not an adventure bike. Come on, Moto Morini, just put 17s on it and sell one of the most approachable, capable sport touring bikes out there. Like, I get it, it's the Xcape, so it's got some 17s. But I've been thinking about it really hard. What bike is this competing against? And the first thing that came to my head when I was doing my behind-the-scenes first impressions ride, my raw first impressions, the first thing that came to my head was Africa Twin Adventure Sports, right? The Adventure Sports is, I think it's only DCT now, but it's one of those bikes that's set up to basically be a sport touring bike. And that's how most of the Adventure Sports riders that I'm aware of use it. But then I thought, what if they put the 17s on here? And what if with a tune, it actually starts making closer to 140 horsepower? Then you know what it actually competes with? The Pan America ST. And that's when I really changed my perspective on this. When I thought about this being an affordable Pan Am ST with a V-twin that you know, feels good with premium hardware around it, but doesn't have that Harley Davidson price tag, you know? Then I got really excited about it. I really did. Like this, it's too big to be stripped down and turned into like a Super Hooligans bike like the Pan America does. For somebody who looks at the Pan Am ST and they really like it, but they don't want to drop $20,000 for it, this thing is way closer to a Pan America than Harley Davidson is going to want to admit. It really, really is. And that's actually really impressive for the Moto Morini. It really is. I would love for them to just drop all pretense of ADV here and create an Xcape S or an Xcape R that becomes the street bike version, something that has, you know, a lighter front end so it's more responsive in a corner, something that still has all this technology on here and all of the performance bones that this has. Because for $13,000, this is kind of a screaming deal. It's crazy. It really is. And I'm impressed. I'm truly impressed with this. And it has the personality that I would want from a motorcycle I'm putting in my garage, which I can't say about the Xcape 650. I don't know, man. 2 thumbs up from me for the Xcape 1200 here. This is a great bike. Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See you later.